Hello there, fellow peasants. So today we're going to be talking about 4K versus 1080p. And I'm not going to get into super technical details or any of that. I'm just going to give you my opinion on whether or not 4K is truly worth the upgrade from 1080p. And I'm not going to talk about HDR because HDR doesn't always have to be used for 4K resolution. If you watch Stranger Things is not shot in 4K. It's just regular HD, but they put HDR on it. I've seen a lot of movies like that lately on Netflix where it's not 4K, but they've put HDR on it. So anyway, in terms of just straight clarity, is 4K worth the upgrade over 1080p? And I'm going to say it depends. It really does. Not all movies are transferred in the same way, remastered in the same way. Sometimes you get a slight uptick in detail from the standard Blu-ray, and sometimes you get a significant bump. It all depends on how the original film was shot, how the film was shot. Was it 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter, 70 millimeter? Was it shot digitally? Was it shot on 4K? Was it shot 1080p? Was it shot 2K? It all depends on what the original source is, how well it was taken care of, and how well the remaster was done. Whose hands was it in when it was being remastered, and the new transfer was being done? So you're not going to get a straight answer out of this video because it really all just depends. I've bought 4Ks that they don't look that much better than the standard Blu-ray, and I bought 4Ks that look way better than the standard Blu-ray. That's why I watch a lot of channels. Like there's some channels on YouTube here called HD Numerique. Check them out. Also check out My Moonization. Those two channels do a really good job. They have hundreds and hundreds of videos of Blu-ray versus 4K comparisons for movies. I go to them. They are my go-to for a movie if I know a 4K is coming out. Sometimes most of the time I wait until they put a video out and I can see the comparison because I understand, like, YouTube has compression, so the comparisons that they show on YouTube aren't going to be 100% the difference you're going to see on a disc, but it's good enough. It's enough. If I see enough of a difference on their video, I'm like, wow, okay, the disc is definitely going to be a bump up. I also get on Google and I read High Def Digest, and I think there's one called Blu-ray.com or something like that. I'm not sure, BluRayReviews.com or something. So there's like 3 or 4 different sources I use before I make a purchase for 4K, because 1080p still looks good. It still looks good. It's not horrible. It's not bad. 4K just gives you a lot of the time just that extra crisp, clean lines and that extra clarity, like the fine detail in clothing and hair and textures like on walls and grass, leaves, things like that. You're going to get that extra bump up in those textures. The older the movie is, the more grain there's going to be in the movie. A movie shot 35, 40 years ago is not going to look the same as a 4K Marvel release or any movie previously. A lot of movies are shot digitally now. Even if they shot something on film now, the film stock is better than it was back in the day. So old films are going to be very grainy, even in 4K. Now the grain is more refined. It's more like sand than it is, what it looks like on the Blu-rays, but it's still definitely there. You're not going to get a clean, clear, almost like you can put your finger in it, image off an old film that's remastered in 4K. The point of the 4K is to just balance everything out, give everything a nice smooth texture. Bump in detail is there, but like, you know, I just watched the first 3 Indiana Jones films in 4K. And do they look good? Yeah, they look really good. But when you get up to the TV, you put your face right up to the TV, you clearly see artifacts. You see the grain, but it does look better than the standard Blu-ray. So all in all, guys, sorry I can't give you a definitive answer. It all depends on the movie. It all depends on what it was shot on. It depends on a lot of different factors. You just kind of have to take it case by case whether or not it's worth the upgrade. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. That's just my honest opinion on 4K versus 1080p. In terms of film, in terms of gaming, that's a whole other thing. I can get into another video on that. I see a significant increase in a difference in 4K gaming over 1080p. But we'll get into that. Maybe that'll be another video down the road. But in terms of films, it definitely depends. It definitely depends. So, all right, guys, that's it. Have a good one. I appreciate it, and bye-bye, peasants.